Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Conor here. I hope you're absolutely doing very, very well and is still absolutely buzzing after yesterday. I think I've watched the 5 goals and the games back at least 5 or 6 times now. Still on cloud 9, but another huge game coming up for Leeds United now. A more measured review this one was. Last night I was very excited. As you can imagine, I think me, Joe and Oscar, very, very excited. But you've got to be, haven't you? When can you be excited in life if it's not after a 5-0 Leeds win in that sort of vein of performance? I've seen a lot of people turn around and saying Stoke were awful, all this sort of stuff. Listen, they were bad, but we made them look bad. And absolutely proud as punch of the lads last night. So, but the games, as I've just said, coming thick and fast. Another massive game for Leeds United, another absolutely massive game. And it's a bigger game for Swansea for me. And, they're chasing down the rivals, Cardiff in 6th. Cardiff got some tough games coming up. But Swansea, they need to get in there. I believe it's a point between them. And, they really are vying for that 6th spot. So they need results. And it's a home match as well for them, which they'll see as advantageous. So they need to get the points on the board. And obviously with this running, you don't want to see Leeds lose. But I still feel Leeds can lose a game and draw a game and still get promoted. Whereas Swansea, they need to keep up that pace on Cardiff and whoever is going to be in and around that top 6, really. So the last 2 wins, they've got 2 decent wins of Swansea. They've beaten Sheffield Wednesday at home, which is always a decent result. But I watched that game and God knows how Wednesday didn't get a result or even a win there. I think they had 10 shots and Swansea only had 7. But that's all you need, really. The clinical nature of Swansea's. Front 4 came to the fore, and once again, Brewster paying dividends for his quality, really. But they conceded 2 goals, which is food for thought, really. Leeds scoring 8 goals in 2 games. It's a good little statistic for us, that. But I wanted to review sort of the last game as well that we played them at the start of the season, when Swansea were absolutely flying, really, and a lot of people were turning around and saying they could be contenders, they could even win the league. It was only a sort of short spell they had, really, but it was a really good spell at the start of the season, and then they hit a bit of a slump. But, we're talking about sort of the overall patterns of that particular game. We'll get into the tactical breakdown in a sec, but they sat back and they were playing the lower block against Leeds, which was quite surprising with the amount of attacking flair that they've got. But once again, it's when Leeds come to town or when Leeds are playing you do sort of change your style of play from all-out offensive and attacking. Some teams, that's their blueprint of playing, and they'll come to Leeds and they'll just sit back and wait for Leeds to make a mistake because they've seen that has caused Leeds problems before, and you go toe-to-toe with us. And I'll say it once again, you get absolutely picked off. Loads of changes to the starting lineups from then and now as well. Kiko obviously out and probably will be never in a Leeds shirt again, touch wood. Alioski started that game as well, and Forshaw as well, which just shows how long ago the game was, right at the start of the season. And already it did have a real final feel to it. You could even feel the anxiety of the crowd there already. And it was crazy, watching the game, you could hear the gasps, and, if Leeds missed the chance and Swansea run on goal, it was, ooh, and you could just feel it. There was a bit of tension there. And I do think that crowd factor does play a massive thing with Leeds. It's positive, but it's also negative. And I feel in this game, especially, it was quite negative. But, also, Swansea had Borja Baston. He was having a great start to the season. The Spaniard, he'd come back, 32 years of age, and getting a few goals and assists under his belt. But yeah, it was a good start for Swansea. It really was. Selina was also on the bench. Was also starting. We've seen Selina for Ipswich score against Leeds, score a couple of worldies against Leeds, and he always seems to have a good game against Leeds. But he's been benched recently in this Swansea lineup as well as the key figure in that game, Mike van der Hoorn. So I thought the 2 best players there, Van der Hoorn and Selina, they've been benched. Obviously, the reason Mike van der Hoorn, I'm not sure about Selina, but Mike van der Hoorn has been injured, which has been critical, really, for Swansea. But yeah, Sam Surridge also came on, didn't he? The Bournemouth loanee, and I thought he was really good when he came on. Really, really good. Sort of changed the game when he came on. He was very dangerous. Went down diving a little bit, but he played a big factor when he came on in that game. Had a fair few goals as well for Swansea in the early part of the season. If they'd have kept hold of him, who knows where they'd have been right now. But it always seemed to be Baston off, Surridge on, and that's where the difference sort of made. But, you look at the first half, and even during the game, really, the whole 90, completely dominant once again, completely dominant, and probably the biggest smash and grab outside of Derby at home and Forest at home, really. And probably Luton thrown into that hat, but I don't think we played well against Luton. But Derby and Forest, probably the biggest ones, but Swansea not far away. I mean, within 10 minutes, we should have been 2 up. Bamford, absolutely free, 3 or 4 yards by himself. Somehow he heads it about 3 or 4 yards wide. He had another chance where he had a free header from the other side, ball in from Jack Harrison. He just completely gets the wrong end of the stick with the header, does Bamford, goes out for a goal kick. Cooper, if you remember, smashing the bar, and then his rebound just goes over the bar. Eddie came on in the second half, had 2 great chances, was thrown goal at one point, clear, and just smashed it over the bar. Pablo, I don't know if anybody remembers this, you probably do, but there was a cutback from Helder Costa when Helder Costa used to come on in about the 70th minute with Eddie at the start of the season. Great cutback to Pablo. Pablo aces space, smashes it just over the bar, and Leeds had so many chances in that game, and the XG was absolutely beyond belief. I think it surpassed any XG we've had this season for the amount of chances we had on goal, good chances as well, and classified as big chances. So Swansea took their chance at the end, a scrappy goal, and that was that. But the celebrations at the end were something pretty special. We've had it with Wednesday this season, when they got the 2-0 win at Ellen Road, and it was like a cup final win at Wembley. It was incredible. Some of the scenes, you had all this sort of stuff going on, and players going nuts in front of the fans, and it's a compliment to Leeds. Really, it just shows how much teams have to do to get a win at Leeds. And then it's normally the result afterwards they completely flop. Reverting to Wednesday there, the game afterwards they lost 5-0 at home to Blackburn, and Swansea were doing the same thing. I think that was at a point where you thought this Swansea team are going to really challenge, but they sort of fell away a little bit, and this is where we are now. But what I've noticed about Swansea is their record against the top 6 after doing a bit of research. It isn't great, and I'm going to throw like a Derby County in there as well, because I think it is going to be between sort of Cardiff, Swansea, and Derby for that top that 6th spot. Sorry. But yeah, they've lost to Fulham home and away. West Brom smashed 5 past them at home and then got a draw at the Liberty. Brentford have taken them apart really in 2 games, an aggregate score of 6-1, 3-0 and 3-1. Forest have also beaten them away from home at the Liberty. Swansea have drawn against Cardiff and beaten them at home in a narrow game, 1-0 win. And Derby have drawn against Swansea at home and beaten them 3-2 away. So at home against the top 6, they've got 4 points out of 18. So there are no excuses for this Leeds United side. For me, the best team in the division to go down there and get a win. That should ease a lot of people's, thought processes on it. 4 points in 18 against the top 6, which it's not a great record at all. So, they do well against the sort of mid-table, lower block teams, but the teams where, there's added quality, they don't do as well, especially at home. At Leeds United, when they played, as I've said, they played a low block, which was interesting because this Swansea team hasn't done that much this season. I think probably against Leeds was the only time they'll do it. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they do that again. My question would be, they might be able to play the lower block, but they played the lower block at Ellen Road, and if Leeds had have taken the chances, which we had an abundance of, we could have won that game. Obviously, you give Swansea that goal, and they had a couple of decent chances, a couple of corners, but you give them that goal at the end, and it should have been 4-5-1. The amount of chances we had, it was ridiculous. Big chances as well, classified by Optastat. So I noticed, as I've just said, Selena was just trying to hit us on the counter-attack every single time. It's going to be interesting whether or not they do that. They have what Selena's really good at is bringing the ball from the defensive third into the offensive third. That transition is really good. He's got that close control that Jack Harrison and Pablo Hernandez possess, and he's able to move Swansea from that defensive third into the offensive third really nicely, either drawing a foul or playing the ball out wide, maybe to a Conor Gallagher or an Andre Ayew. Mike van der Horn is an absolute massive player for them. Earlier on we were talking about replacements for Janssen. Obviously, when he went out the door, he was my number one choice. I think he does what Ben White does really, really well. And you saw that in that first game. He basically just get the ball as a centre-half, bring the ball out into the offensive third as a centre-back. He is a ball-playing centre-back. and an attacking centre-back, and he's thoroughly dangerous from set piece as well. He's a mountain of a man. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not he starts. He was on the bench. As I say, I know he's come back from injury, but it'll be really interesting to see whether or not they stick with Guehi and Cabango, or they bring in a Mike van der Horn for this game. Yeah, their tactic-wise, it's really similar to what Leeds do. They try overload the fullbacks naturally. You know, they've got good talent out wide. You know, whether or not they're going to be playing a Conor Gallagher out wide or in the CAM role, I'm not 100% sure. But Andre Ayew naturally drifts out to out wide, which is what he did against Leeds United. So they tried to overload the flanks really, because they've not got natural pace down the flanks. You know, you've got the likes of Dyer and Routledge on the bench who were pretty much hitting 34, 35. And Ayew, and if you've got Conor Gallagher on that wing, they don't normally play like that really. So naturally what they do is they try and pass it around. They did that against Leeds at home, away as well, for Swansea, when they were just playing these nice patterns of play and trying to sort of, play these nice passes just in and around the full-backs that Leeds had on the pitch that day. And they do get success from it. You know, they were doing it against Birmingham as well, consistently doing it. You know, I watched that game and they're a good footballing side, one of the top footballing sides in this division. So that's going to be an interesting part to play. Matt Grimes as well. I think Grimes has been brilliant for them. You know, he was awful for Leeds. And if you Swansea fans are watching this, Matt Grimes' mum came on social media and had a go at all the Leeds fans. So that's why Leeds fans have a little bit of a gripe with Matt Grimes. It's tongue in cheek and it's just a bit funny. But yeah, we haven't got an obsession with Matt Grimes. It's just a bit of tongue in cheek. As I say, it's a bit funny. But he controlled the ball really well, and he was playing those intricate passes in and outside the flanks, really, and trying to get Ayew in on that day in particular. And they were really targeting that side where Andre Ayew has the ball. The reason they try get the ball to him as well is because he can hold the ball up. He's a strong lad. Reminds me of Diouf a lot, for us, El Hadj Diouf. Gets the ball, really similar movement, similar size, similar stature. And he does get goals to them, and he's a quality player. But, I feel like we should be able to deal with that. I really do. But that's what they do. They get the ball to him, he sticks, and then you get Conor Gallagher, Brewster, and co running off him. But Conor Roberts and Jake Bidwell are not shy of getting forward either. Jake Bidwell, ex-QPR, ex-Brentford man, he's played in this Brentford system that does have a very similar system to Swansea's, which I presume why Cooper keeps playing him. But they're not shy of getting forward at all, and that's where, if I was a Swansea fan, I'd worry, because our pace and dynamism on the wings is going to hurt anybody, and especially if you're leaving gaps in and behind. So Mike van der Horn, when he's gone out as well, they brought in a Chelsea loanee called Guehi. Reminds me a lot of Tomori. He doesn't have the physicality of Hector. But this Chelsea loanee does remind me a lot of Tomori. Likes the ball at his feet, good in the air, and he's been a really good acquisition for Swansea. Only 19 years old as well, a real prospect for Chelsea there, and for Swansea for the remainder of the season. They've got loanees in January in Guehi, in Brewster, and Conor Gallagher, which I think is some really, really good business. But Brewster, we've not really touched on him. He's the real outlet for Swansea. 8 goals in 14 games. He's lethal, absolutely lethal. And I know when Nketiah went, a lot of Leeds fans were talking about us getting Brewster, and I think he'd have been a brilliant signing. I actually didn't think he was as good as Nketiah, but how wrong am I? He's like a duck to water to this division. He's been absolutely superb. He increases the press for Swansea as well. If they want to get that high press, that attacking press from the front, you kind of got that with Borja Baston, but I feel like you're going to get it from a youngster who's been under the influence of Klopp for years and years and years now. Essentially won the Champions League. You're going to get them getting into that high press a lot quicker. So players like Liam Cooper, players like Ben White are going to have to be a little bit wary of Brewster. Baston was sort of a luxury player, and you could see that in the last game when Surridge came on. Swansea really got into the rhythm, and Brewster's a little bit like Surridge, but he's just got so much more pace and he's so much more clinical in front of goal. But has he ever faced a centre-back like Ben White? I don't think he has, personally. And a lot of this Swansea side are very inexperienced, and a lot of them played against Leeds in that first leg. I thought they were very lucky, but now there's so many kids now in that team. The likes of Conor Gallagher's obviously been drafted in, Guehi, Cabango, Are they going to be able to deal with this Leeds United side? You know, this quality Leeds United side who've now got experience in these situations. But what can Leeds do? Well, score early. It's that simple. I don't care wherever we are. I think it's 46 games now. Whenever we've 45, it's 46 games, and 45 out of those 46 we've scored first. We've gone on to win. Completely dominant last night against Stoke City. Absolutely dominant. And this is Stoke City side who, they had to deal with a high pressing side, an energetic side in Barnsley at the weekend, won that 4-0. And then, they've come to Ellen Road, tails up, and they've just been absolutely dismantled by Leeds United. So even when teams play this low block against us, Luton Town playing that low block against us, Cardiff City playing that low block against us, we still get chances. Bamford doesn't block that one on the line from Jack Harrison when we're 1-0 down, 1-1. It's a completely different game at Cardiff, and we genuinely go on to win that game. That Luton game, Costa and Bamford finished their chances, which were very, very easy chances. In that Luton game, we win that game. You know what I mean? And that's a positive over these last two games. We've been clinical. We've been absolutely clinical. And we're hitting the target a lot more. Bamford was absolutely brilliant last night, and he's been brilliant since the restart for me, aside from that Cardiff game. Even against Luton, he was trying and he was doing all right, but especially these last two games against Blackburn and Stoke City, he's been absolutely brilliant. He looks hungry, and we know about Patrick Bamford. He's so streaky that this could be the start of a really good streak for him. But as well, would we be nervous if Brentford's form wasn't where it is now? I don't think we would. I think we'd be absolutely steaming along. But then again, you've got to ask that counter question: would Leeds be as good as they are now if Brentford weren't putting that pressure on? But we have to be confident and assured. Especially this team where they're at now, they should be absolutely flying. As I've said, 8 goals in 2 games, 1 loss in 11. And, this whole Leeds falling apart again, waffle, it's not founded at all. It's not factual. It's not based on anything. It's based on last season when Marcelo Bielsa made virtually no changes to a bang average side and, got them into an absolute wonderful position at the end of the season. And we lost out, and probably deservedly so at the end, quality-wise. But yeah, you could see the anxiety factor last time we played Swansea at home. I feel, you could tell towards the end, Leeds weren't taking the chances. You could hear a lot of groans and moans, and we're not going to have that down at the Liberty Stadium. It's just going to be football against football. Obviously, last time went down to Wales, not a good result. So I don't know whether or not the travel's going to play a factor. It shouldn't as a footballer, and I don't think it should as well with what we're vying for, promotion and Premier League football and potentially a championship. But I think it's going to be a big, big game for Swansea's kids. Are they going to be able to deal with it? All inexperienced, not played really against this Leeds United outfit before. Well, some of them anyway. And you do wonder whether or not, obviously, you've got Dyer, Routledge, Mike van der Hoorn, but are they going to play are they going to be on the bench? You expect it really, unless Van der Hoorn comes back in. But if he's coming back from injury and he's coming in against the Leeds United side, it's a big starter game for him, really, isn't it? But maybe that's what Cooper wants, and he had a good game against Leeds last time. But they've got a lot of inexperience, and I keep harking on about this, but we can take advantage of that big time. But yeah, as I said, defensively, it was a miracle they got away with it at Ellen Road. I do think it was a real smash and grab, but they're a good side, Swansea, really good side. And I think, last season we got 1 point out of our last 4 games. Admittedly, the last 4 games were Brentford, Villa, Wigan. We had a lot of tough games in and around our last 4. I think we've got tough games still to come. Let's say if Barnsley get a win this weekend and then they come to Ellen Road and it's still game on. Ideally you want a team like Barnsley to lose and then they know the position. Even if Barnsley draw this weekend, they really know the position because they're going to be coming into that Ellen Road game with no real hope, I don't think. And you're going to have an eye on next season, really, aren't you? So maybe you're going to play the kids. But this Swansea game, as I've said, it's a huge, huge game for them. But it's not going to be an easy run-in for Leeds. And we all got excited last night. I'm buzzing. I still am absolutely buzzing on cloud 9. But we do still have to keep our feet on the ground. There is still football to be played. There is still teams who are going to be wanting to win games against Leeds United. So we need to go in there confidence assured, play our game. Like Liam Cooper said last night, it's 5-0. The confidence is restored. But it's just a win at the end of the day. And we need to look at just one game ahead, and I think that's absolutely pivotal for this Leeds United side to just keep our feet on the ground, because no doubt if the results don't go for us this weekend, Brentford win, West Brom win and Leeds lose, the Leeds are falling apart again. Bandwagon's going to come out. So this is what I mean. You need to sort of manage expectations, really. And I think Leeds are, I think we look a different outfit to last season. You know, I said 1 point out of 4 games last season, but I think we look very different. I don't think you'd have got a 5-0 win last season at home against the team struggling at the bottom of the table. I also don't think Leeds would have gone away to a Blackburn chasing a playoff place and won the game 3-1 and won it quite comfortably. And that's the comparative you've got to draw. It's playing a team like Blackburn who really are going for it and have got some good players, had some really good players in that game against Leeds United back from injury as well. You know, the likes of Lewis Travis. And Leeds were dominant in that, especially in that second half. So we've just got to manage expectations, cut off the supply to Brewster, strangle Swansea and get a goal early. Guys, it's been a bit long. I'm trying to get these tactical breakdowns so you can enjoy a bit more content, because I don't just want to sit here for 5 minutes and talk about a preview. I think it should be in detail, and I've done a lot of research for this, so smack a like on the video as well. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Leeds win at the weekend, confident and assured, and I think that's going to set us into the Barnes again really nicely. As I said, like the video, guys, and I'll see you in a bit.